It seems to have gone live already. This is just me setting up the camera a little bit. This is quite a good day. I've got a new thing that I'm looking to play with today, which is a birthday present from my partner. It's my birthday in a few days. It's the 25th of March. We're now on the 21st, which is the spring equinox. So this will be the day when day and night are the same length. And as a present for my birthday, my partner got me a whiteboard, and she drew a picture of an angry turtle on it, which is just to remind me not to annoy her. So this is what I'll be using to try and demonstrate things. It makes it a bit easier than trying to write things down in a book. I'm probably going to put it behind my phone and switch the camera around so that then things aren't mirrored and put up in reverse. So yeah, this is a show about escaping this world. I found that there's a lot of people in this world, especially in the spiritual community, that think that you need to escape, that we need to get out of this place as if it's a prison planet. And I can understand this because these are things that you see quite often, even in scriptures. They talk about this being the devil's world. And I'm going to see if the chat's working. If anyone's there, I see one of you watching. If you're able to type something into the chat quickly, that'll help me out. Otherwise, if you're watching on some kind of screen, I understand that's a lot harder to do. I'm gonna see if I can get the YouTube up. Hey, hi, Mum. How's it going? I appreciate you. This has made it a little bit easier now. I know that the chat's working. Not completely uh, caught off like I was last time. I went an hour and a half into the last video before I realized that the chat screen wasn't actually refreshed, so I wasn't able to do anything uh, interactive with anyone asking questions. So that was a blunder on my part. I'm going to see if I can get the chat up on my tablet, because that way I've got access to it in two places. And that way I've got a little bit more control if anything goes wrong, or at least a little bit more notice. And this is, yeah, view channel. Escaping This World by Shinjitsu Master. Oh wait, needs to turn the sound down.
Escaping This World by
What a noob. So yeah, I am doing this show about escaping this world, because I feel like a lot of people would escape this world if they knew it possible. And a lot of people in the spiritual community tend to spend hours of the day trying to escape this world, trying to focus entirely on meditation and trying to get into the higher chakras and escape the lower chakras in which we're in, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think being in a higher energy state and on a higher frequency is a good thing. Uh, when it comes to the physical, I don't think we should be ignoring the physical. There's a lot of things in the physical world. The physical world is reflecting back to us exactly a reflection of what's happening in the spiritual world. It's like an as above, so below. And you have a lot of scriptures will talk about this being the devil's world, or this being a world that was handed over to the devil. So you've got the earth, which is what we live on, and then you've got the world, which is like the narrative that you get from the media, the celebrities and what they like to say, the social media aspects. There's a lot of things that are not of the earth in terms of how nature works, but that has its own systems that work in a man made kind of world. And this is the world that they consider to be the devil's world. This is the one where, in order to succeed, you might find yourself doing things that you'd rather not do, things that dirty your soul, dirty your conscience. And it's about being able to recognize these things. This is part of us being here. The reason that we have this experience is to be able to learn and adapt. We're being thrown in with the lions, so to speak. We're thrown into the lion's den and given a chance to absorb and learn from our surroundings. And there's no problem with making mistakes. All of us have made mistakes in life. It's not a sin to make a mistake, although it is considered a sin to not learn from it. So this world is constantly delivering us karma. Basically, it's the balance of our actions, and it's what we do has a reflection on what we receive. The rewards and the benefits, as well as the punishments for the work that we do, is usually built into the work. It's usually things that we say and do that outwardly end up coming back to either bite us or to give us reinforcement that we're on the right path. And I find that that is such a better thing to focus on than always focusing on the things that we should be running away from and the things that we should be escaping. I like the idea that you get into these frames of mind when you're weighed on upon the world. You look at the world stage, you know, what Trump's doing or what Canada's doing or what China's doing or what Russia's doing or what the Ukraine are doing. And it's all things that I think are important because they're happening in the physical world, and it's reflections of what's going on in the spiritual world. It's a reflection of what we're here to be able to absorb. But getting so weighed down by it that you forget to look outside and just appreciate the beauty of the world that is around, especially as we've now reached the equinox and the day is now as long as the night. So there's now a nice balance. Hey Christina, hey Siddiqui, how's it going? This is, I'm glad I caught you before Iftar. I'm going to be going on until a little bit after Iftar today, so you're welcome to come back later. I understand that you'll be wanting to go and break the fast. Stephen Randall, hello. Nice to have you with us. So, yeah, this is a show I'm doing about people trying to escape this world. So, there's a lot of people talking about escaping this place, and I think that there is a lot of beauty in this place. There is a lot of things that we can. Yeah, Iftar in 30 minutes. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. Stephen Randall, I had a near death experience in an accident. That is actually really interesting. If you would care to share more with us, I will read out what you post. More than happy to hear the story. I love hearing about people's near death experiences. And yeah, like, feel free to share. This is one second. Von Cheaper, cool, seems interesting, but we'll always be stuck in the matrix. That is a big part of what I'm going to be talking about today. Stephen Randall, I still didn't escape this world. Yes, a near death experience is not going to help you escape this world. Death will possibly uh, get you to escape this world, though that is debatable. As Von Cheaper says here, it seems interesting, but we'll always be stuck in the matrix. The idea is that after you die, you would still then be re entered into the matrix, or you will be kept to this world. But this is going on the matrix theory. This is the idea of this being a prison planet and we're all being kept here by some kind of demiurge, which I don't subscribe to the idea. I think that everything that we are here for has been permitted by God in one way, shape, or form. And I believe that was our choice to come here in one way, shape, or form. So I think that when it comes to trying to escape the matrix, then it's not something that we should be looking at as the main goal. It's more, we've got something to learn by being here. It should be trying to learn the lesson and then possibly be able to escape without needing to come back and relearn any lessons. Is there a life after death? Really, though, why are we here? Stephen Randall, good question. This is something that everyone tends to ask, especially when you get to a certain age. Is like, is there any point to any of this? Like, especially you get people that they think that there's some kind of thing coming along to save them. And a lot of people that are like the modern Christian uh, communities tend to feel like something will come along. Jesus is going to come along and save you as long as you accept him. And all you need to do is accept a higher power, submit to a higher power, and that's it. As soon as you've done that, that is all of your part in the being saved. In which case, would there really be a point in being here if you're just being placed here so that someone else externally can come and save you. I think that when it comes to being saved, the only person that can truly save you is yourself. The only people that are going to save us are ourselves. We could be sitting here watching and waiting for others to come along and save us, but really and truthfully, we need to be doing the work and learning. The trick is not to go towards the light when you die. I have heard this, Von Cheaper. I've heard people saying that the light is another trick. You will go towards the light and you will miss out on the opportunity. It's interesting theories. I like hearing about these. Uh, not too, not too much of a. I mean, there could be as you die, this opportunity comes along to the one last trick that, like, Muslims say that someone will come along right on the point of your death and tell you that everything you followed was a lie. All of this was a lie. Come with me now and you'll be saved. And if you go with them, then you'll miss out on what you would gain if you kept your faith, which I find that very interesting. Oh, one sec. Stephen Randall was in a road accident and was in a bad way. I really think I saw the light, but it didn't want to take me. Really nice hearing your points. Thank you, Stephen. I try and do my best to share the thoughts that I feel have helped me along the way. Uh, yeah, I can imagine you being in a road accident. That was a very sobering experience. It was a very like harsh, real experience in the physical world. It's something where you experience physical pain. It's something where you experience fear to a heightened level, like your body naturally would go into the fight or flight response, and then having the seeing the light upon having the near death experience, that is something that I've heard many people talk of, and it's something that I've listened to a lot of different, like there was a book, I can't remember the guy's name, but I listened to it as an audio book, and he was just talking to many people who had near death experience and seen the light, and they were talking of things like there was a woman who claimed that when she died, she was in a room full of people that she wouldn't recognize in this world. It wasn't people that she knew from this world, but she knew that she was sitting with her friends again. She was reunited with her friends. And I found that very fascinating. And I always find it interesting when people talk about, one sec, I had 3 blood transfusions, skin grafts, broken collarbone, broken ribs, broken hand. Wow, that is immense. That is an incredible thing to survive and be able to tell the tale. You've done very well. I imagine that was very painful. Is that something that still causes discomfort now? I imagine that there's going to be reminders one way or another. And that's interesting when you have something that impacts your life that much. Like, that is something that you will never forget as long as you live. That will be a memory that sticks with you. It's something that for a lot of people is very life changing, not just in a physical way, but in a mental way. And I imagine that, like they say in what was the film? I think Fight Club, when changed my life. Yeah, I can imagine when they there was a scene in Fight Club where they had Tyler Durden and the main character who's often referred to as Jack. He was, for the poems that he read, like I am Jack's uh, kidney and silly things that he found in this house that they were staying in. There was a scene where Tyler Durden pulled a gun out on someone who was working as a cashier in a store, and it was very horrible what he done. He pulled the gun out on him. He threatened to kill him unless he went and fulfilled his dream of being a vet, like he wanted to be before he started working in that store. And the actions that were committed, I don't condone these kind of actions. Don't think this is a good thing to do, but when the guy ran off and Edward Norton's character was asking, like, why did you do that? And Brad Pitt's character, Tyler Durden, was saying, this guy's breakfast tomorrow will taste better than anything you and I have ever eaten. Because when you come that close to death, the appreciation that you have for life on the inside, it magnifies somewhat. I can imagine that kind of an effect upon coming that close to death. It's like when you imagine, this is also a lot of the reason why people say grace before eating food. The idea is that your body, when you're in nature, you would get predators that would come by, and it instills the fight or flight mode. It releases a cortisol into the system, which will be, it's what helps you deal with stressful situations, and it shuts down your appetite. It stops you being able to digest food. You're focused on fight or flight. You're whatever the third option is. It's a natural bodily response. And people say grace because often when the threat passes and the person's able to relax, it is the thankfulness, the thank God that thing has passed. Like, thank you that I'm still here and that I'm still alive. And that gratitude is what stops the cortisol from flowing through your system. It starts to change it so that you're then able to do things like digest food again and rest and relax. So that is often why people say grace before eating food. I always try and remember to feel thankful for the food that I'm about to eat. I say itadakimasu because I've been learning Japanese and it feels appropriate. But yeah, that's something that I think is very powerful. When you come very close to losing something, you appreciate that thing more than you have in the time leading up to it. Like if you uh, come close to losing your partner in an argument, often you'll find that you feel a lot more connection with them in the moments afterwards during the period where you make up. You feel a lot closer to them then than you did in the leading up to the argument. Sometimes something like that is enough to like snap you back into reality. And I think that it's that aspect of reality that people should be looking at, not escaping from, because that is an amazing experience. When you look at all of the things that you do actually enjoy about life, all of the foods, everyone's got a favorite food. Everyone's got a favorite color, a favorite thing that they like seeing in other people. Like I enjoy just sometimes seeing other people do nice things for other people, and that restores my faith in humanity. And I like that you get to see that in everyone. It doesn't matter where you look, you see that in all people, in all walks of life. There's good and bad in everything. And people being able to really connect with this physical world and see the beauty in it. That even when people talk about this world being Saturn's world, as Saturn is said to crystallize everything into being, and Saturn is said to be Father Time or Kronos in Greek mythology, and that Father Time has bound us to time as we come into this world. And that's like being kept in a prison. You don't, you do the crime, you do the time. It's that kind of a feel. But Saturn was initially the god of the harvest. He's seen with the sickle as often seen as like the Grim Reaper type of character. But initially, he was the god of the harvest, meaning you reap what you sow. He would have been the god of karma in a way. It is initially what you put out is what you get back. What you have sown is the fruits and the food that you will be enjoying. And things have changed many years down the line, excuse me. It does feel a lot more like the Matrix now. Someone now gives you money to do their work for them and treat you like you should be thankful that they've given you a job in the first place. It seems to have that kind of vibe. There's people that have good bosses, but generally that seems to be the way that people earn a living now, rather than growing food, rather than producing their own crops and yielding from the earth. It's now often you go out and get a job, and quite often these jobs will ask you to do things that you wouldn't normally do and treat people in ways that you wouldn't normally want to treat them, especially if you're in a management position. And I'm not saying that work is the enemy here. I think that it just feels sometimes like you're trapped in this matrix, that there's nothing really there that is, in a way, you getting back as much as you've put in. And I think that that is also quite important in this world, is to recognize what you're putting in towards. There's a lot of people that they put in towards things that aren't serving them. And it's often useful to have times of reflection, especially as we've just got to the end of the year in the astrological year. The last few months of winter would be the hibernation period, where you tend to get rid of anything inside of your home that no longer serves you, that doesn't need to be there. It's what they call spring cleaning, as we approaches springtime and you start removing things that you no longer need. I do fasting this time of year. I start fasting for Lent, and I started fasting for Ramadan as well a couple of years ago to get the extra sunrise to sunset fast in there. I find it's a very good way of cleaning out the body, getting rid of anything that's just been swept under the carpet, anything that's been left for later. Someone's analogy was that the body is sometimes so busy that when you have things to dispose of, sometimes you don't have the time to dispose of it. So instead of taking rubbish out and putting it in the bin, you just kind of tuck it away in a drawer. So say you've got a saucepan that's all covered in food that's just been cooked, but then it's something that instead of having time to clean it, it just gets put away in the cupboard. And then when it gets pulled out, it's got rust on it, and it's something that then needs to be thrown away as there wasn't time to deal with it right away. Sometimes giving your body that break is good enough to deal with these things. So I think a lot of animals in nature have hibernation. It's a period of rest and relaxation and reflection. Our bodies can go for a surprising amount of time without food, as I discovered, especially like solid food. If you were to go for a break from solid food, they say that that's enough for you to be able to clear out your system. So if you're able to eat soups and smoothies and fruit juice and herbal teas and other things, it's a good way of really clearing out the system, giving your body a chance to refresh and do that spring cleaning. Especially then, if you're drinking things like lemon tea, lemon's a very good cleanser. I often have lemon and ginger just with boiling water, no added honey or sugar or anything like that. And I find that that's very refreshing. That's very good for clearing out different things in the body that would otherwise be a bit harder to clean. So I find that when I start doing this, I go from feeling quite low and having those moments where I really start getting in my own head and hating myself for not being as smart as I want, and feeling like I've wasted a lot of my life, feel like I've not really done very much in terms of serving others or doing anything that's a benefit to anyone other than myself. Like, feel like I've been very selfish. I find that often when I start cleansing out my body, these thoughts cleanse out with it. And fasting isn't really about gaining anything, it's more about what you manage to lose. Like, I know a lot of people fasting for Ramadan right now are doing it to gain a thing called taqwa, which it translates to faith. But I see it more as you're shedding all doubt. You gain back a faith in humanity, a faith in yourself, a faith in God, a faith in the world around, a faith in nature, because it removes the doubts. They start shedding away as you remove these things. You get a lot of the time, you'll have a really dark night. They refer to it as a dark night of the soul, I believe. This is something that you feel really weighed down and you've got a lot of things going on in your head. And by the time it balances out, you then find that you need to release something in the bathroom. And then once it's gone physically, it's reflective, gone mentally as well. And I think also it shifts something spiritually so that you then don't feel the same level of weighing down upon yourself. So that's why one of the reasons why I tend to do fasting every year, especially around Lent, as Lent is the time leading up to the spring equinox and just past the spring equinox. It follows a different calendar. It follows like a solar lunar calendar because it changes every year. The dates alter between um, February and March for the start date, and then continues on through till March or April. This year it finishes on 420 on April the 20th. Some smokers out there would understand that date very well. That will be Easter Sunday this year. So yeah, Lent is one where quite a lot of people don't celebrate it so much anymore. It's the 6 weeks leading up to Easter weekend. So it starts with Pancake Day, which is a day where everyone would be making pancakes as they're trying to get rid of things like sugar, eggs, and milk from the cupboards, anything that's they're going to be fasting from for the next 6 weeks. And if it's left in the cupboards, chances are it'll go off, or it'll be there as temptation for the children who would be giving up sugar or something along those lines. So yeah, children aren't really permitted to fast, so they would be giving up something like sugar. Adults would tend to give up something like swearing, or something like being on their mobile phone around the families, I think, is a modern one. A lot of people don't tend to do the fasting side of it anymore, but it used to be that you would give up meat or give up flesh, was the idea. Especially this was a Catholic thing for Fridays. They would give up flesh on the Fridays. Jesus gave up his flesh on the Friday, and on the Sundays have a relaxed day, like a cheat day, where they could go back to eating the meat. They'd have like a Sunday roast because that is like a rejoice for the Lord has risen. I don't actually eat meat. Like I gave up a couple of years back, or a few years back now. So with fasting, I tend to for Lent give up everything but fruit. So I've done it before where I've given up everything but liquids and gone through just juice and occasionally smoothie. I think it was for Sundays I would have smoothies. There was also a year when we done eating fruit, and then on the weekends having salads, because it's just leaves and cucumbers and tomatoes, which are both fruits anyway. So just sticking to basic things for the 6 week period of cleaning out the body. And it's also, I do, this year I gave up cannabis for Lent. So I won't actually be able to smoke until 420, which I thought was quite appropriate. I actually decided I was giving up cannabis before I realized that 420 was the end date for Lent. So I've gone quite a bit of time. I'm not sure how many days we are into Lent. I think it started on the 5th, so the 21st now, it would be 16 days without cannabis, which is not the longest I've gone. I think it was 20, I went 20 something days last year, but that was like the longest I've been without cannabis in maybe 20 years, since I was 14. I'm 37 now, so 23 years. So that's 23 years of using cannabis as a crutch. A lot of it was where I was working hard, demanding physical labor jobs. I found it very good for muscle relaxant. So I find that that was the reason. But also, then I discovered that when I wasn't working and when I didn't need it, I was still using it just out of habit. And taking time away from it definitely feels good, especially if you're spending a lot of money on it, as it's good to be able to return to it, and a smaller amount does the same job. I'm going to try, when I return to it, to only return to it occasionally. I don't want to be doing it every day anymore. I want it to be something that's seen as it's something that's going to be more than habit. It's something that I'm going to try and use as a plant medicine rather than a drug. It's like if it's done out of habit, it's more of a recreational drug. And if it's done out of using it for a specific purpose, then it's a lot more something that you're making a conscious choice on, and it's not something that rules over you. Like I gave up alcohol because I can't do it with alcohol. With alcohol, I was getting to a point where it would make me feel very low and very depressed. And then only thing that made me feel better was having my face feel numb from that third or fourth drink that suddenly kicks in. And that is a dangerous path to walk, I think. For me, it's something that I've seen many people can drink in moderation, and it's okay for them to live their lives as they please. I'm not judging anyone. I choose not to myself because I find that it makes me feel very low. And I find that then the incentive is to be drinking as often as possible as a form of trying to escape this world. So, see, reunited with the initial point that this video was, it's about people trying to escape this world. I spent many years doing hard drugs and a lot of alcohol trying to escape this world. And that's just one form of it. There's a lot of people that will bury themselves into religion, they bury themselves into prayer, they bury themselves into meditation, they bury themselves into anything that will temporarily relieve them from the stress and the worries of this world and what it demands from us. As sometimes it's worth just taking the time to appreciate. Just take some deep breaths. Stop thinking. Allow the thoughts to appear and then dissipate. Take a step back from the world. And then when we step back into it, suddenly the problem that feels like it was this big is now a much smaller and easier to manage problem. It's like for me, doing the fasting is one of those because I'll go for a period of not allowing myself to eat foods that I like. Where I'm doing the fasting for Lent, I'm not eating things like nuts. And I absolutely love nuts now. I used to hate nuts. I used to tell people I was allergic. And that was just so that they wouldn't buy me a Snickers or something like that when they go to the shops. Whoops. But now, since I started fasting, I actually found that I really enjoyed nuts. I find it very difficult not to eat peanut butter and cashew nuts. So having periods of time without those, also without like food, cooked food. I've been really getting into cooked food, especially in the winter months. There was some really amazing meals that I learned how to make. My partner taught me how to make a few of them, and just simple things that you can do in when you're making dinner, when you're making food for yourself. There's really simple things like I never realized was a thing, like frying some garlic and ginger in the oil before I use it and letting the tastes of those spread throughout the oil before doing a stir fry. Like something as simple as that, it makes all the difference. And then learning about other things that I could use, like lemongrass and different herbs, different like galangal and other things when I was looking into Thai cooking. There's such a world out there. There's me and my partner have been watching a Korean show called Chef and My Fridge that's just resurfaced. It took a break for about 5 years. And the premise of this show is they take like celebrities, they'll take the refrigerator from their home, bring it onto the show, then open it up and pull out all of the things, often embarrassing them if they've got things in there that are out of date or different things they'll come up with that they'll make jokes about things that are inside there. And then the chefs that are sitting there will have to make a meal out of what's in their fridge that would be catered to their taste in 15 minutes. And it's like the amount of different things that they've managed to come up with out of the materials that are in their fridge. You see these people, they're just staring. It was like, I had no idea that I had this there the whole time. It's like you've made this with ingredients that I have at home all the time. It's never tasted like this. And these are like really amazing meals that come out of it. Some of the ideas that go into it are phenomenal. And it's all done within 15 minutes. It's like if they can do that in 15 minutes with that knowledge, just imagine what we could do if we put a little bit longer aside for ourselves to do something nice for ourselves. And this is a part of, I think, sticking with the physical world, appreciating the physical world, looking at the positive things in the physical world, tastes, things that we can taste, things that we can smell. That's a big part of cooking. And that's a big thing that I miss when I'm fasting. But what I do is I have periods where I spend time away from it. And then when I come back to it, I appreciate it a whole lot more. Like my sense of smell has increased so much since I started fasting that the other day my partner was brushing her teeth in the other room and I could smell the toothpaste. It's like different things I'm able to smell from the other room. When I was walking around Chinatown looking for pears, like Chinese pears and Japanese pears, there was a smell that I got of a bakery, and I couldn't even see the bakery. It took me a couple of minutes of walking to find the bakery that I was able to smell because I was able to sense it from that distance. All right, I see that nothing's come up on the chat for a little while. I'm gonna see if I can refresh my page, see if it's frozen. I apologize if I've been ignoring anyone's messages. I promise it's not on purpose. This is just gonna come out and go back in. And no, there's no new messages. We're all good. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to the live streaming. This is about the fourth time I've done a live stream, so I apologize for any unprofessional behavior on my part. It will only get better from here, surely. But yeah, the best thing that I find from fasting is when you start getting the senses back, you start coming back to your senses. That's when things don't feel as scary as they were. A lot of the time, the fear is fear of the unknown. And when you gain senses back, you're able to feel things for yourself. You get the five senses that we're aware of: the touch, sight, sound, smell, and taste. So that's five senses. All of them have five-letter words, which I think is brilliant. Even sense is a five-letter word, which I think is amazing. The connectivity to the number five and senses. But there are more than five senses. Five is just the visible ones. You also have senses on the inside of your body. You have the sense of emotion. You can have a sense of empathy with others. You've got different things that you start becoming more aware of as soon as you gotten the access to the senses again. A lot of the things in this world, they desensitize you. You look at things that you see on Netflix and things like that. It's heavily got lots of porn, borderline porn in it, borderline aggressive violence and things. Now, I'm not knocking everything on Netflix, but there are things I could name. Altered Carbon, for one. Very awkward if you're sitting there watching that with family, kind of thing, because of the way that they throw the sex scenes in there and different things. And it's like that is a big part of desensitizing people. And I don't even think that it's 100% put there to desensitize you. It's a lot of the time people are trying to cater to the tastes of people that have already been heavily desensitized. But you often see a lot of porn being pushed everywhere. I don't remember the last time that I went onto like Google's homepage without it telling me about this OnlyFans model that slept with 1,000 blokes. And it's just different things like that that I find it puts ideas in your head. So even if you aren't interested in looking at the thing, you will then have the thoughts going around in your head like, wow, 1,000 guys, well, how would that even look? It's best not to think about that. These things are put there as people are doing their best to desensitize humanity. If you hear about people that spent a lot of time on porn sites, they often got to a point where just looking at the things that used to make them feel um, aroused no longer work. So then seeing their partner naked would no longer work. Seeing a picture of breasts doesn't do it for them because they've been watching depraved videos of unspeakable acts. And the kinkiness is the only thing that then has an impact on turning them on. It makes them feel good because it feels so wrong, kind of thing. And I think that that is a very heavily pushed idea in this world. They try and desensitize everyone because when we come back to our senses, it's real different experience. If you're numb in this world, it's a very harsh world. There's not much that you find pleasure in anymore, and you kind of spend a lot of your days just dwindling and trying to pass time until you find the next thing that can temporarily relieve you from the suffering. And I think in Buddhism, they say that the secret to this world is that life is suffering. But then, in truth, when I spend time fasting and gaining my senses back, I find a lot less suffering. Obviously, walking through London the other day, smelling that bakery wasn't the only smell that I got. Having a heightened sense of smell when you're walking through London isn't always a good thing. It's just, oh, is that urine? That's that. I smell urine somewhere. Like, not always a positive thing, but just the ability to be able to sense those things, I feel a lot better in myself than I did at times when my senses were completely dulled, because all I was doing was things that dull my senses. I was having things that were heavily processed food. I was eating McDonald's like 3 times a day. It was really disturbing when you consider some of the things they say is in McDonald's food, especially when you see those videos of what goes into the chicken nuggets or what goes into the chips. I swear I've seen that people have had things in the microscope that were moving inside the chips. And like even the chips in the first place, they were things that the farmers have to grow in a very specific region. I think it was Idaho, I might be wrong. The farmers have to, it's a very specific type of potato and it attracts aphids. And if it gets brown spots on it from the aphids landing on it and like nibbling away or something, then they will reject it when it gets brought to the McDonald's restaurant. So they have to go out and spray these things with really heavy pesticides in order to kill off all these aphids, in order to stop these brown spots from appearing. And once they've sprayed it, they have once they've sprayed it, they have 5 days that they're not allowed to go out into the fields because it is such a toxic spray that it can cause death or serious harm if they inhale it. So they have to wait 5 days after spraying this before they can go out into the field. And this is going into the food, this is being absorbed into the potatoes. And even after all of that, which is probably not no longer fit for consumption, except that it has been approved by whatever companies say that it's safe for you to eat it. I imagine they're probably not eating it themselves, knowing what's in it. You still end up with the videos of these little things that were wiggling inside of the close up view of McDonald's chips. Like 3 times a day, I was having, like I say 3 times a day, 3 meals just for breakfast. I'd have the sausage, egg, and cheese bagels, sausage and egg McMuffin, usually a double one. I'd get the sausage and pancake meal, which had the syrup on it. I'd be pouring the syrup all over the meat. I'd be munching that down. I gave myself serious problems in the stomach. I must have dulled my senses down so much just from eating that food. And I'm not telling you not to eat McDonald's. There's plenty of videos out there that are showing the horrors of what appears in some of the places. I don't know. The McDonald's near you might be using more healthy alternatives to this, but there's a lot of scary videos out there. If you can watch one of those while you're munching a McDonald's, you got a stronger stomach than me. So I was really in a bad way with the things that I was eating. I mean, for a start, needing to add syrup to your meat just seems a little bit like my senses of taste were a bit gone unless I added something that was a heavy sauce, like not being able to taste it. When I started eating fruit, I thought that fruit was quite tasteless. And then I realized how much there actually is to taste there. A lot of the bland flavors suddenly have flavor in there. And I didn't even notice these things were here. But it's something that's only there for those that are sensitive to it. It's like people that need a heavier, more dense flavor are going to miss all of the subtle flavors. And it's these subtle things that we miss. I don't think that that's just in food. I think that's with all aspects of the physical realm. There's a lot of subtle things that you miss because we're so used to things being like heavy and dense for us to experience them, where our senses are quite dulled. We're a bit like a tone deaf person would not be able to hear all of the things in a beautiful singer's voice because there's certain vibrations that the ears just can't pick up on. There's certain tones that you're deaf to. You miss out on the full experience of the physical realm when your senses are dulled down like this. I mean, I experience tinnitus from years of working in construction and a fencing yard. I had a board that I was making panels on, and a lot of echo of the noise just done a lot of damage to my ears. There was always saws going on. There was always extractor fans, forklifts going around. So quite often I hear tinnitus. For me, comforting is to be watching a program or listening to music, so I don't notice the ringing anymore. Like a lot of the time, if I'm meditating, I can't sit there in full stillness and silence. I can always hear the ringing. What I have to do is try and zone out to the ringing in my ears and try not to think about it, try not to say anything in my thoughts in words, and allow any thoughts that appear in words to just appear and dissipate. But it's very hard to get the full experience when certain things have been dulled down. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to hear things as well as someone that hasn't gone through this kind of damage. Yes, welcome, Dan. I love the smell of a cool, crisp morning. So true, man. And I think that what you were saying about the area you were sitting in when you were sitting in your garden the other day and you had the stream rolling, just the gentle sound of the stream trickling, uh, that is divine. And then especially now as the sun and the night and day are at equal lengths, this is the time that things start getting warmer, and that gentle heat that you get from the sun, just being able to feel that heat on your skin is so nice, and it really does make you feel good to be alive. So that, yeah, is one of the things that I like to do fasting for. I like to do fasting because the smell of the grass, you're right, Dan. The smell of grass, especially fresh cut grass, smells incredible. I don't know what it is. Like even when I've been cooking with lemongrass, I love getting the smell on my fingers. It's like can't stop myself from getting that smell. It's one of the nicest things. Like there's so many things with food that I'd never realized earlier on. Like I thought quite often that if you had food that wasn't meat based, that it wasn't worth eating. Like I wasn't too fond of vegetables. I wasn't too fond of fruits. I ate fruits and veg, but it was usually when it was given to me. I wouldn't go seek these things out. But then after the first long fast that I did, 80 days that I went without solid food, I had things like soups, and I had there was a couple of smoothies I made where I was trying to make a pizza flavored smoothie. So I was putting in olives and other things, which it's more like a soup then than it was an actual. Uh, it was more like just blended hard food than it was taking a break from solid food. But after this fast, I came back and ate some spinach. And when I was eating the spinach out of the bag, I noticed flavors in there that I'd never realized were there. Bits of it was sweet, bits of it was salty. I was like, I didn't realize there was a salty flavor in spinach. There was such a depth, and I'd never noticed this before. A lot of what I see on that show that I was just mentioning, Chef in My Fridge, they're using things like perilla, which I've never used before. And I'm curious to use this now because they're talking about the flavor that it gives. Like it's almost the flavor hits you after the rest of the flavors in the meal. You eat the rest of it, you taste the rest of it, and then suddenly the aftertaste or the after smell of the herb hits you, and it just sits on top as a nice accompaniment to the flavor. Things like this I didn't even realize were possible. I've seen people on that show move to tears. There's a guy yesterday we were seeing that he was an actor, so like yeah, could be a little bit put on for the show, but I genuinely believed he was moved to tears because I have felt what he was describing. He's someone that was spent a lot of his time acting and doing things uh, really quick, trying not to. He would never line up for food. It's always just get something quickly, eat it as fast as possible, and get back to work, and then go outside of work just trying to catch up on sleep and that kind of thing. And for him to experience some of the food that they made, these people like I think it might have been Hyun Suk, who is from Culinary Class Wars, who made him a meal, and the first thing that he tasted, it moved him so much because he'd not experienced something like that in food. He almost felt like ashamed that he'd gone that far in his life without realizing that food could taste that good. And I understand the feeling. I felt the same after I'd done the first fast. Once I started getting my senses back and I realized how nice things are, things aren't as horrible as they're made out. Like when I was younger, I was one of the kids that it was hard to get me to eat my vegetables. I liked carrots. That was about it. I like carrots and potatoes. If you told me it was Irish, I might eat it, but other than that, wasn't interested. And now the amount of things that I eat is absolutely phenomenal compared to what I used to. My taste buds have completely flipped. Like the things that I find the most flavor in now are things that other people would not notice that they have any flavor in the first place. And that I think is another reason why I'm glad to stick with the wild, stick with the physical world. It's not as bad as it looks. It's the matrix theory that we're all here and stuck in this matrix where all that you're eating is digital pixels, and you're getting things that are sending signals to your brain telling you how it tastes. Well, me fasting has led to these pixels giving me information telling me it tastes better. So perhaps what I'm doing is how the Matrix was intended to be played, like the game played as intended. I don't think that it's so much that you got to try and find a way of escaping playing the game, more of recognizing that if that's your paradigm, that we're in this prison planet, we're in this matrix, that there has to be a way out, that there has to be a way to get out through playing it. There has to be a way that was intended through design that you can do certain things and get ahead. And a lot of the time, I think that that would come from going against what the narrative tells you to do. Because the narrative is like this voice in your ear. It's like this devil on your shoulder. It's like the ego, they say, is ego means self in Latin, or I in Latin. It's the part of you that is looking after your physical being. So it's not the enemy. A lot of people think you need ego death, and they like. I've even seen some people that are talking, oh, yes, I've had my ego death. I have no ego anymore. I think, how egotistical does that sound? And you can't wake up without an ego, man. It's like saying, "Oh, I managed to get rid of my butthole. I don't have a butthole anymore." It's like, no, you wake up the next day, your butthole is there with you. I mean, unless you've had a horrible accident and you've lost your butthole, in which case, if that has happened to you, I'm truly sorry. I meant no offense. But saying that you have no ego anymore is like telling me you have no butthole. I'm not going to believe you upon just hearing that. That's a big thing. Like, for people to come out with that you need an ego death is very important for you to realize that it's working with the ego, not removing it altogether. The ego is here to preserve your physical being. The ego has no connection to the spiritual. The ego will do things that are selfish, that are animal based, because that is the ego trying to survive. Even generous people, the ego will make sure that they feed themselves first and make sure that they've got enough in them to be able to go around and share with everyone else. It's like the lions. That's what you'd see in A Pride of Lions. In fact, that's one of the traits they say that Leos have. If you were born in the sign of Leo, they say that often you'll take time away from people because you're very generous people, and then you need some time to yourself to just take for yourself for a little while to make sure that you've got enough so that then you can go out and share with everyone else or be that same generous self again. Ah, Dan saying, reading what Von said about not going towards the light. It's not the light you don't want to go towards, it's the heat you want to keep away from. Good point. It's the hellfire that you want to stay away from, not the bright light. It's interesting. I find that the light tends to be often seen as a combination of things. There was God in the Bible said, "Let there be light," and the word Lucifer in Latin means light bearer. So for people to say that the light is actually part of the world that we're in, the physical reality, and it's of Satan's world, I kind of get the links between it. Although Lucifer was in, like, Lucifer morning star in Latin was referring to Venus, and Venus is another five-letter word. I always associate Venus with the senses. This is Venus. Today is Vendredi, Venus Day, and day 5. So Venus rules Libra. Libra is another five-letter word. And Venus is often associated with Eve, Eve Venus. You've got Mars associated with Adam, Ma Adim, and then men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That is uh, the balancing. So, say if Adam was from the AM, Eve is from the evening as the PM. So, I find that Venus as well in other pantheons. You've got Freya, which is another five-letter word. You've got Frigg in Anglo-Saxon pantheon, which is another five-letter word. It's quite often that Venus is associated with the number five. Even Venus paints out a five-pointed star in the sky, which looks like a perfect pentagram, which is often associated with Lucifer again, which I'm not entirely sure is justified. I think that there's sometimes people demonizing the feminine quite a lot when it comes to religions. The churches, anyway, not in the scriptures. The scriptures don't come out with these things. This is what people of the churches come out with. These are the same kind of churches that would go burning people at the stake for being witches. So, not the people that you should be trusting. The books, I will defend scripture to the death. I believe that all of the books give us a helpful guide of how to live our lives to the fullest. I think they say Bible, another five-letter word, basic instructions before leaving Earth. I'm not sure if there's one for the Quran. That would be interesting if Quran had an acronym. I know that that's another five-letter word. See that Islam does a lot with the five. Islam, another five-letter word. There's five pillars of Islam. One of them is to pray 5 times a day. It's Mecca, the Kaaba, both five-letter words. So these are interesting links to the number five. I think the five is to do with our senses and our experience. Oh, there's 5 people watching right now. Brilliant. This is, I think, part of our experience on this world. It's experiencing five different layers of sense. At least there's hidden layers, but these are the five common layers. And coming back to the senses is something that you can gain, especially through doing fasting. Like Islam has Ramadan, the holy month, in which all Muslims above the age of 14 are required to fast from sunrise to sunset. And this would be a period of time in which people were encouraged to avoid any mindless entertainment, avoid music, which music, another five-letter word. I think quite highly of music, even though the devil does a lot to get people to sell their souls. And then you see a lot of songs out there that are like less than positive, less than holy. They're more promoting doing disturbing things. So, yeah, I'm not talking about the music that you see in the charts, even though chart, another five-letter word. Don't think chart music, when you put those two five-letter words together, happens to just bring you to something that is positive and good for your senses. I think that that's more five and five together makes 10. 10 is a net backwards, say 10. So you've got links there that are quite interesting. But yeah, when it comes to avoiding these things in order to gain a closer relationship to God, I'm all for that. It's not that you should cut music out of your life entirely. There's nothing in the Quran that says anything about music being haram. It's something that you would look at like it's a thing there for the senses. It's a thing that could be used for good or bad. There's good and bad in everything. So people would be encouraged in Ramadan to avoid all of these things. Anything that would take you away from that connectivity to the higher self, the connectivity to the highest, who is the one that created all. Like whether you believe in pantheons of many gods or whether you believe in many angels and many messengers, there's always above them one creator that was above all else, and these are given many different names. A lot of the times, the pantheons, you see them, they relate to one of the luminaries in the sky, one of the seven visible planets, or quite often the other planets are then named after gods. There was like Neptune was named after a god, Pluto was named after a god, Lord of the Underworld. There's a lot of these planets were named after the old Greek gods, and the old Greek theories that uh, like this god castrated this god and took his power. Like I think they say that about um, Jupiter castrated Saturn. Saturn castrated um, Uranus. That doesn't literally mean that they were going around chopping off bits. This is like the idea of castration was to remove power from, as when they castrated bulls, it would remove the power from the bull and make them less feisty, less fighting, less assertive when they were forced to go do some plowing in the fields. So that's what they mean when they say castrated. There's some interesting words that have kind of lost the meaning in translation over the years. Like I see something in the Bible about someone's heart being circumcised. I was like, what does circumcision actually mean then? Because I'm sure they're not trimming off your heart's foreskin. I'm sure that's not a thing. So for them to talk about circumcision in the Bible, it means something different to what it means now. And I think that these sorry, Dan. I don't mean to be ignoring the messages. There is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Yes, they say about be the shining example for others. This is also another great thing about Ramadan. You see a lot of people out there just doing good deeds and trying to help one another. People are jumping at the chance in the month of Ramadan to help each other. Like, I love being like this. I attempt to do more because the focus is on it more, not just in Ramadan. For me, it's every time I fast. Every time I do fasting, I suddenly find myself becoming a bit more compassionate. I'm always walking around with fruit when I'm fasting. So when I'm walking around with fruit and I'm going past someone that's like a homeless person that's asking for change, I usually offer them some oranges. I find that oranges are quite helpful. They've got vitamin C, so it's quite good if you're sleeping rough. It's quite a nice boost to your immune system. And it's not something I do for any kind of reward. It just makes me feel good. The rewards are in the work. I feel good enough just doing it because I feel like I've not just walked past and done nothing. But I don't like giving money to people because I don't entirely trust that it's not a scam. If you're going to scam me out of some fruit, then hey, maybe the fruit will make you think twice about scamming people. So it's a win win all around. I don't mind that. And I know that homeless people are happy to receive fruit, especially I get my fruit. Oops, sorry, don't mean to knock this for those of you that get motion sick. I tend to get fruit from Marks and Spencers too, so it's not exactly just giving someone cheap fruit. It's something that's quite nice. Like it's something that I think there's a lot of flavor in. This is actually one of the few reasons here is why I'm considered vegetarian and not vegan, because it contains things. Yeah, it's treated with imazolil, thiabenzidol, and phenethyl. That's a new one, and pyrimethanol, uh, fludioxonil too. They weren't the things I was looking for. It's the wax. The wax that they're treated with, E903 or E914, I'm not sure which one it is shellac, which comes from an insect. So they cover the oranges in insect wax, basically. For that reason alone, I'm not vegan. Otherwise, don't eat animal products. I even stopped eating honey after seeing a few things. Haha! Dan saying, don't allow Lorena Bobbitt near your privates with a knife. Some of the older viewers will maybe remember John Wayne Bobbitt had his penis removed by his wife while he was sleeping, and she tossed it out of the window of a moving car as she found out he was cheating on her. So yeah, try not to upset your partners, as you never know what might happen while you're asleep. Something to think about. Yeah, I know Dan's pointing out she's the woman who cut off her husband's penis. I remember that story. Very eye-opening. I hear that he actually got a prosthetic penis and became a porn star after that. So he still went to live somewhat of a fulfilling life, I imagine. But each to their own, I suppose. So yeah, this world, coming back to the topic, it's about experience in the physical realm. It's got good and bad in it. My favorite song lyrics from Dala Mendi, Dunia Yara Ranga Barangi Na, Pedi Nari Chungi. This world is a very colorful place. It's neither good nor bad. It's something that you get what you give in this place. It's what you make of it. And yeah, a lot of us got things steeped against us in this world. There's a lot of us that are given an unfair start compared to others. You look around you, you see other people, they've got advantages that you weren't given, privileges that you weren't given. Like I grew up in a council estate. I've seen many people that didn't grow up with that kind of lifestyle, and for years felt a little bit cheated that I wasn't able to be like as good as some of the people that were in like functional families. And yeah, I was just feeling sorry for myself and blaming the rest of the world. Basically, it's not something that was a legit thing. My mum did a very good job of raising me. She worked very hard to raise me. This is not something that I'd blame on my situation. It's something that I've taken responsibility for my life now. And I look at my actions and what I've done. And there's a lot of people that were in worse situations than me growing up that have gone on to do a lot better than me. So what's their excuse? Like, or what's the reason for that is that they didn't make excuses, that they decided to take personal responsibility for their life and make something of it. They reckon the best revenge you can ever get on someone in this life is to live a good life, to take control of your own life, take responsibility for your own life, and take it to better places. And I find that that's something that becomes clear as you come back to your senses. As you start doing things like fasting, you get a lot more, you're able to sense different signs that are shown to you around different things that you just happen to read or happen to be watching at that moment. Different messages that trickle through that you wouldn't otherwise have seen before. It's something that they say in the Bible about if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. It's something they mention in the Quran about the Allah puts a blindness over the people that would mock faith, and this is something that I think it often comes about. You get a lot of people when their senses are dulled. You know, they can't feel any kind of connection to any goodness in the world. They look around, they see on the news all this horrible stuff happening everywhere, seeing all the TV dramas that they watch, all the problem, everyone always being nasty to each other, and oh, what a horrible world we live in. And it's very easy to see the world like that when that's what's fed to us all the time. It's like even what you're seeing on these programs and what you're seeing in the news programs, it's all food as well. It's food for the mind. It's being fed to us. A lot of the times with music as well, the music that you listen to, especially the not so holy kind, the stuff that was definitely not inspired by God or goodwill, the that music you find when you go into shopping centers and things, it invades your ears because you don't have a choice whether or not to listen to it. It's just there and you're hearing it. And often even in those, sometimes I find that there's messages there that help reflect back to you things that like realization for you that's there for you to pick up on if you've got the eyes to see or the ears to hear. Like when I got heavily into psychedelic drugs, one of the worst acid trips that I had was an everlasting one. It lasted for years. I believed that I was the only thing in existence and that everything else was just a figment of my imagination. And there's absolutely nothing I could find in any kind of philosophy to disprove it. There's nothing that can disprove this, and it was a horrible state to be in. That I do believe that we are all one, And I do believe that there's many different ways in that can manifest. But the way that I had this trip, it was really lonely. I felt what hell was really like in that moment because it was so insanely lonely, and it wasn't a good place to be in. And when I went into this nightclub, uh, run by some friends of mine, it was a rock and metal nightclub that was playing a song by Feeder, and the lyrics to the song was "All by myself. Bet you think it's funny now, funny now." And I laughed. I laughed out loud because it was like, it's hilarious that you get into that world in your mind, and the thing that's fed back to you reflects what you were pushing out. And that's where I think that this world, I don't believe that I'm the only person in existence anymore. I do believe that we are all one, but I believe that everyone exists here as an individual to experience an individual journey. That outside of here, we are all connected to the divine. We're all cut from the same cloth. Neither one of us is better or worse than any other of us. We've done things, made mistakes in this world, and yeah, we could see each other as imbalanced in one way or another, but it's not the real case. We've always got a chance of doing better than we did yesterday, and there's always a chance of doing something that brings you closer to your senses. And for that, I'm very grateful. For that, I love this world, even though a lot of people provide quite compelling arguments that it's a prison planet. And if it is a prison planet, I look to do the rest of my time with good behavior, as I've reached that level now where it doesn't give me pleasure to do bad things. I mean, I still have bad moments. I still slip and I still get angry and shout, and I still do things that I look back on and feel regrets. But it's a lot less now than it used to be, and I'm a lot more sensitive to these things just after they happen, rather than not noticing for weeks sometimes until you look back on something that happened and suddenly feel that it wasn't so great. So I'm grateful that I've got this experience where I've been able to find my way out of it. It's what they say about finding the light. You need to be in darkness to find the light. It's like, in order for a seed to grow, when a seed is placed underground, it's in complete darkness and there's light coming from above, and the seed will grow towards the light because that's the way it's designed. It has to be in darkness, in complete darkness, to be able to sense where the light is coming from, to be able to know which way the roots are supposed to go and which way the branches are supposed to go. And as they say about getting out of this place, escaping this world, if you're hoping to escape this world to reach heaven, then your roots must reach down to hell. It's like you must experience hardship in order to get to that level. In all of the books, you will be tested as soon as you find this level of temperance. If you find temperance, you find the devil. Jesus takes his 40 days in the desert. He's got the devil there telling him he should turn this rock into a loaf of bread, for you are the Son of God. You will be able to do whatever you want to do. And Jesus has to refuse. This is like that voice in your ear when you're fasting telling you that you don't really have to do the fasting. You could always just say that you're doing it and not do it if you're doing it to please others, or to do whatever today and then go back to it another time. I appreciate you, Dan. Thank you. The I think as well that it's good to keep your fasting to yourself. I realize this is very hypocritical of me. I'm coming on YouTube telling everyone, "Oh, yay, here's me doing my fast." But no, I think that the true fasting is done between just you and the highest self, the highest being. It's between you and God, because that's the best way to do it. You've got less pressure from the outside, then you've got less of the voice in your ear telling you to try and like deceive people or something along those lines. Like, these voices will always turn up. The devil will always turn up with these suggestions, because that's what it means to find temperance. It's what they say about us being in the devil's world. That would Temperance is the boat that carries us out of here. It's the ship that you sail on to get out of here. Speaking of temperance, it was actually my mum that mentioned she would call a boat temperance if she could, if she was to name a boat. So that was, yeah. As soon as you find temperance, you find the devil with you. The devil doesn't want you to find temperance, because that is your sailing away from the devil's world. Now, I don't actually believe that means that you're leaving this planet. Like, you're not leaving this plane of existence. You're just leaving the devil's world. You suddenly realize what bits of this world are man made and what is the actual earth. And that, I think, is the best thing, to try and come away from living in the world and instead living on earth. Because the earth was put here for us to really experience paradise and be able to get the sensual experience of good and bad, because you will experience pleasure and pain. That is the tree of life, known as the nervous system inside of our bodies. That is the thing that feels both good and bad. And that's what gives us knowledge. That's what helps us gain the knowledge that apparently Adam and Eve were seeking when they got sent down here. The devil card in tarot actually contains a little Adam and Eve who are loosely shackled. They've got a loose chain around their necks, which implies that they'd be able to leave at any time. But they keep up the illusion that they're kept in the devil's world because they enjoy it. It's an enjoyable experience. If you five likes, five watches, brilliant. The senses, when you're having a sensual experience, you're in this physical world, getting the experience, the emotions. E is the fifth letter. The emotions are generally your physiology, all of the things inside of your body that make up this energy, which is the E in motion, which is the emotions that you feel. They're often a big teacher in this world. They often give you a lot of different ways to sense different things that happen, different events that occur. And I find that that is reflected in a lot of different mythical walks of life. The physical world is here as a teacher for us. It's here for learning about karma. It's here for learning about good and evil. And we chose to give up paradise to live here. We chose to give up the bliss that we had with our ignorance and learn all of the knowledge. And at some point, we will be able to return, but having learned our lessons. I think in the Babylonian texts talking about Enki, or I think it was these texts, they mentioned about the gods had people that were brought into being and they were too noisy, so they were removed from the gods' plane of existence. Now, I may be getting this wrong, because even as I was thinking of that, I was thinking, no, Enki and the stories of creating humans as slaves, basically as little miners to go around mining things on this planet. So that could be something else entirely. But there was a pantheon that talked about us being too noisy. Rimuru, good to have you here, bro. What's up? How's it going? Dan saying, share your knowledge is a way to achieve immortality. Dalai Lama. I do my best to try and share the things that I've heard, because I find that they helped me along the journey, and I have no idea whether or not it will or won't help someone else. But I do feel that if it will, these people will be drawn to it. I'm fully confident. I have full faith that anyone that needs to hear what I'm saying will be drawn to it, and they will find their way here, just because that's how I found my way to everything else. As soon as I was ready, I managed to find myself to it. As they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. and I had a lot of teachers appear. I see everything in this life is like a teacher in one way or another, either by example or by giving examples. So it is very much a learning experience, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, and no matter what is reflecting. Like, I will defend the scriptures to the death because I love the scriptures, but you don't need them to be a good person. The world around you will deliver lessons to you one way or another, and you will either learn or you won't learn. You will learn once you've got the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and that comes from coming back to your senses. In the natural world, animals, when they feel sick, they fast, they go without food or go without food and water until they feel well enough again to get up and move. And that's a way of naturally coming back to your senses. So I think that that in nature is quite often the route that we have to come back to home. Even if it helps one person, Daryl, it's true. If I could have helped just one person, my life isn't a complete waste of time. That's what I like. I like also that I think Jimmy Carr used to say, if I can entertain just one man, then I was rubbish. That it's Rimmer is saying is good. I like to hear it. Ramadan is a desert type city, right? A desert type city. I'm not entirely sure if it is. I know that Ramadan, the word comes from the word Ramida, meaning to become scorching hot, or extreme dryness, which refers to, I think, how you allow your throat and body to feel, especially if you're doing it in hot places like in the desert. And the desert is a very scorching hot place. There quite likely is a place called Ramidan or something that would be referring to that for the desert. Bro, get more energy, man. I'll have plenty of energy in the evening. As soon as I start eating my oranges, I'll feel a lot better. I always feel full of energy. Eric the Great is saying, starve and struggle enlightenment like some religions fast for spiritual awakening. I'm in the middle of fasting for both Ramadan and Lent at the moment. I'm doing a 46-day nothing but fruit fast for Lent, and the 30-day sunrise to sunset dry fast for Ramadan. So I like doing this every year now. I've done it for the past 2 years. 2 years ago, I only managed 10 days of Ramadan because I was working a very physically demanding labor job. And I listened to my body over the, I stuck to the senses of the physical realm rather than pushing myself to do it in order to achieve enlightenment. Um, Also, I don't think that achieving enlightenment enables you to escape from this world in the way that a lot of people think it does. There's a really good quote that I like from Zen Buddhism talking about before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Just because you've become enlightened doesn't mean that you don't still have certain physical duties to perform, or daily chores, basically looking after your body, washing, eating, drinking, like keeping yourself fed, making sure that you're not feeding your mind with things that's bad for your mind. And I think that that is what I believe when it comes to escaping the world. You escape the world, but you live on Earth. You escape the man made world that tells you that you need to eat your protein or you're going to die, and all these kinds of misinformation that you get about food and everything else. And they always try and push this idea of man made is better. It really isn't. You've got too much stuff in there. Dad's saying there's a place in Egypt called 10th of Ramadan. That's quite interesting. I'm going to have to look that up. Rimuru is saying, can you do freestyle rap? I see your shorts. Possibly. Haven't done it for a while, but I could possibly do something. If I did, it would prove nothing. I don't know if I should introduce something. Maybe you public people would like to put a message so I can choose one thing and try to work with that. That's rubbish. What could I do? What could I do? Okay. Uh, be careful with these foods as they can make you infertile. Ah, infertile, I was supposed to say. Ruined that one, didn't I? Ruined that one. Right, let's try again. These preservatives in our food can make you sick and infertile. If you don't believe me, just look at the face of this angry turtle. Boom. Got some freestyle rap there for you. That was a wonderful angry turtle that my partner drew for me. And this present that she got me, it's an early birthday present. It's my birthday in a few days. That is an Aries. Eric the Great, I unwilling accept that humanity and the planet have no representative. I'm not sure what you mean by that. What would a representative be? Do you eat special food with no microplastics? I hope so, but I wouldn't know. I mean, there seems to be microplastics in everything. They put, whoops, sorry for the wobbling. Even these, there's oranges. Would you believe that these are not vegan? Because they contain shellac, which is a wax that's made out of insect products. Upon hearing that that's in my fruit, like I wouldn't be surprised if my fruit contains things as well that are microplastic based. GMO, I try and escape GMO as much as I can. I don't trust GMO. Or just wax, yeah. Like, when they say the word sincere is from the Latin sine, meaning without, and cere, meaning wax. So when they ask for something that to be sincere, they mean it to be without wax. It's referring to mainly statues that used to be sold where they'd have chips in them and they'd be filled with wax to make it look like it was a full statue. But also with these, they've wax put on them to stop them from getting the moisture, which causes them to go moldy. I actually do prefer going to the market when they've got fruit at the market. Excuse me, buying oranges that where you can see the occasional one in there has mold on it, because I know when it's got mold on it, it's not got the shellac and everything on top of it. But sadly, in the UK, there's only certain times a year that you can find. I mean, you can find oranges quite a lot throughout the year, but then being able to find edible ones that haven't spoiled already, is quite difficult. And quite often, then I'll just accept it easier to get them from Marks and Spencers or Waitrose or somewhere like that. I try and avoid going for anywhere other than that now, because they had a thing in the UK where they were using appeal technology, APEEL, if you look it up, was gas that they were spraying. So they'd get the fruit, they'd put it in a little gas canister, they'd spray it with gas so that it's completely waterproof and airtight, and then people would eat this and expect it not to do any kind of damage to the body. So yeah, like I agree. Mentos mint wax is not the worst. There's plenty worse things that there are in food, like very disturbing bits and pieces. Uh, Especially if you look at fast food, a lot of the things that I've seen with McDonald's and other places like this, very disturbing. Oh my God! Wait, it's 6:30 already. It's gone past iftar time. I haven't even eaten yet. Excuse me, this may be a bit unprofessional. I'm gonna nom on this orange. So yeah, I'm gonna be ending the live stream soon, as it's coming up to 7 o'clock, and I try and spend the evenings with my partner, as I spend the mornings during Ramadan doing things that are either based on uh, learning languages, reading the Quran, or uh, the Bible. I read the New Testament or something, because it's both Lent and Ramadan. I find that both of these are good scriptures to find a connection to the divine. Itadakimasu. Itadakimasu is Japanese for thank you for the food. My God, that is gorgeous. Oh, one sec. Yeah, GMO, genetically modified organisms. GMO weed. Oh my God, I haven't even heard of that. That sounds very dangerous. I think honestly, a lot of the weed out there now is genetically modified in one way or another. The weed I remember when I was younger was very, very basic. It had a very earthy smell to it, and I would comfortably go back to that. I think after spending 46 days when I get to the end of Lent not smoking cannabis, when I go back to smoking, I might try out smoking some weaker cannabis like that, go back to the earthy stuff, or not. I might even try not smoking, but I can't say, I never say never when it comes to things. As soon as you say I'm never doing something again, that's when everything turns up offering you that thing. And I don't see a reason to cut it out of my life altogether. But I do see reasons not to waste all my money on it. So I like having this period of time without it. When I go back to smoking it, like when I was doing the earlier fast, I went something like 21 days without, and then ended up just having a couple of tokes because I don't mix tobacco or anything with it. I just roll it as pure. Then I would have a couple of tokes, put it down, and that would be enough for hours. I wouldn't feel the need to smoke anymore. My tolerance was so low at that point that a lot less would give me the same effects that it used to. Uh, Good luck out there from Eric the Great. Akbar and Barak have the same numerical value. They do. That is actually because they are an anagram. AKBAR and BARAK, same letters. Did you know Earth and Heart as well is the same letters? I find that a lot of things that we you look at that have the same letters, they tend to be very. There's a link. Like if I pull up see if I can draw something on this pad quickly. You've got the different chakras. So you have. Ah, awesome. My partner is amazing. She's given me pens to this. I've actually got pretty much all I need to draw a chakra system. So if I start with the root chakra, I'm not going to write words here because it's going to get flipped. Okay, let me just try this quickly. I'll do it with words quickly and then I'll flip the camera around. So yeah, I'm going to be doing this stream for about another 15 minutes and then I'm going to start getting ready to spend time with my partner, as I do spend a lot of time in the day doing things that are away from her. So I've got, whoops, rub that up. This is these boards here. I'm going to let you look at the angry turtle while I draw the rest of this. So this is a new board that I got. This is something that I'm going to try and use for making things while I'm doing the live stream, so it's easier to write something and then take it out. So I'll be able to do things without needing to use pages of the. It's getting a bit awkward to write like that. I apologize. I'm going to try and do that so that it's easier to write things, wipe them off, write other things. Okay. All right, to make it easier for now, rather than writing out all of the chakras, I'll prepare this for the next time. So we're running a bit low on time. So if I spin the camera around for a sec, let's see if this works. Got to get used to doing this. Okay, do we have a bit of light on the subject? Still got to learn how to do this. Okay, well, for the moment, so you got the bottom chakra is the root chakra. So that's in the red. Then you get sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra, and the heart chakra. The heart chakra is the middle chakra. The heart chakra is the green chakra, and heart is an anagram of earth. The earth is the middle of, like, if you were to consider the highest chakra to be heaven. Yeah, it is a bit blurry. I tell you what, and I have to sort something. There we go. That's the light. Except that that's no better whatsoever. That looks like night vision, not night. So, okay. I'll leave that out for now. Yeah, we've got the middle chakra is the heart chakra. And the heart chakra, if you would consider the highest chakra as number 7, whoa, shaky hand. If you consider the highest chakra to be heaven and the lowest chakra to be hell, like the root chakra, the red chakra is hell, the purple chakra is heaven, then you would have the middle chakra be earth, which would be the plane of existence. So that we are on. So earth and heart being an anagram, it makes perfect sense. Then you get, as things like we were talking about cannabis, or I was talking about cannabis just now, that is often referred to as green. That is often something that I think it's a very earthly thing. It's not something that I'd consider bad as such, but it's very neutral. So if you're in the lower chakras and you're experiencing hell, then you'll find it's a painkiller that helps relieve your suffering and bring you up to this level, which is the mid level. But if you're up here and you're experiencing something like if you're on an extended fast and you're eating lots of fruits and you're feeling the highest level of vibration, it'll often bring you down. People that take psychedelic drugs have often taken it to bring them back down when they start feeling very out there and very nervous and jittery. So I'm gonna check and see some of the comments I've been ignoring. 1 second. Bro, have you seen a tiger in real life? No, but that would be cool. I might have done actually. When I was younger, I went to a safari park. I remember monkeys climbing all over the car, but can't remember if I actually saw a tiger. Actually, I've been to the zoo before, so no doubts I would have seen a tiger. Definitely seen a lion. Loving all the hearts. So yeah, I got about another 8 minutes before I wind down. Look at doing Jerry Springer's final thoughts on this video about escaping the world. Gonna nom on my orange. You're welcome to ask any questions. If there's any questions that you have, this would be the time to ask them. Otherwise, if Rimuru or anyone else has got some suggestions, I might give another attempt at a terrible freestyle rap. These oranges are surprisingly nice. One of my favorites is doing an orange juice fast. When you do orange juice fasting, it's a very different type of fast. It feels like it absorbs a lot of the things out of you. It's like the boost it gives to your immune system. It's like your immune system and then becomes a combination between like military walking around inside your body, removing any potential threats, and cleaners going around dealing with any things on the street that would be uh, dirty, I guess. Yeah, to make an entrance, gonna rap about oranges on this segment. Cause I'm nomming. That's a word that almost rhymes with orange. Man, I rap like someone's granddad. If we don't wash grapes after buying and eat it, so what happens? A lot of fruits, they contain preservatives on the outside, or they get sprayed with chemicals when they're being grown. And grapes are one of these. They don't wash off in cold water. I actually made a video of me washing my grapes. I tend to wash them in a combination of bicarbonate of soda and lemon. I don't always do it, but when I don't do it, I do notice that they taste different, and is ingesting harmful chemicals, but sometimes you're out and about and don't have time. It's much better if you do have time to prepare it properly. You taste the difference, you feel the difference. It is a much nicer experience. And I find that if you don't have the bicarbonate of soda and lemon or vinegar to wash it off, I use lemon because occasionally the flavor lingers. I find that grapes tasting a bit lemony are better than grapes tasting a bit vinegary. And the vinegar, sorry, the lemon helps wash off the majority of the uh, bits that you can possibly wash off the grapes. Then I rinse it under hot water from the tap. I don't really trust tap water, but just for the sake of having hot water, I find it's very good for cleaning the grapes. And then I sit them in a bowl of bottled water, and then just stir them around for a little bit to kind of wash off the residual water from the tap water. And after that, I'll either start juicing them or just put them in a bowl to dry and sit there nomming on grapes. Remember the juice Sunny D? I'm sure some singer tried to sue them because their skin turned orange. I hadn't heard about that, but that is quite funny. I do remember Sunny Delight. It was one of the best flavors back in the day. It's not actually a good juice for you to drink. I think that the best juice for you to drink is if you get squeezed pressed juice. So you usually have pressed or cold pressed or something like that on it. If it's cold pressed, it's even better because it won't be given heat treatment. A lot of the time, they pasteurize the fruit juice. This one's pasteurized. They usually say in the top corner, I think they legally have to tell you if it's pasteurized. And what that means is that they boil it up first, which takes away a lot of the goodness out of it, kills off a lot of the good bacteria and the enzymes that help your body. And for what gain? So that it lasts on the shelves longer and it's easier for them to sell it. So if you can squeeze down your own fruit juice, that is by far the best. Otherwise, there is places like Marks and Spencers and Waitrose both have in the UK unpasteurized orange juice. Um, I sometimes get them. Rimuru said, "How much money you get from live stream?" None really. I don't do it for money. This is like a way of me sharing what I do. Like I was able to find my way to a much better lifestyle because of other people sharing their journeys. So in a way, this is a bit like me paying it forward. I don't ask for likes, shares, subscribes, or any of that. In fact, I'd rather do it like a Fight Club kind of thing where you just don't talk about it. Like people just come here, enjoy this space, enjoy the conversations, and we'll kind of keep it to a small group so that we have ability to talk to each other on the chat without so many chat messages coming in that you can't read any of them because they shoot away too quickly. I see that on other people's live chats when they've got like thousands and thousands of subscribers, and it's like I don't really like the idea of that. I mean, it'd be nice if I got to a stage where what I was saying was helping that amount of people. Yeah, but I'm not after the money for this. I think that I'm quite content with just doing this for a hobby and not feeling a level of demand. It's nice to be able to choose to come on here as well. I think if you're getting paid for it, you feel a bit obliged to come on. Although I have had donations, people have given donations before, which I appreciate, and it's still sitting in the pot. It's something that it's going to be reinvested into the channel. So it would go towards buying things like this. Except that my partner was kind enough to get this one for me. It was an early birthday gift. Yeah, I got a nice setup now for doing different bits and pieces. gonna try and get less noobish. I'm gonna try and get a little bit better at doing the technical side of this. I'm gonna try and learn about these controls. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick to using YouTube's live stream or I might start doing stream share, which was what one of my friends, Sam from the Imagine Freely Twin Flames channel used to use, where you could, I think it was StreamYard actually. So that would be, excuse me. Today is Peace Food Day. Today is Peace Food Today, Monkey, and that girl not come here because they were making cringe. Dare I ask what making cringe means? I think I'm going to have to wrap this up here, guys. It's been pleasure. I do enjoy doing this, and I'm going to try and do more evening chats when Ramadan finishes on the 30th or on the 31st. I'm going to try and swap what time I come on. So I've been coming on just before iftar recently, and I've been doing like up until breaking the fast, and today I'm gonna cut this one here, so I've got a bit of time to get ready to watch SmackDown with my partner. She's gotten into wrestling now, and for me, it's a bit like it's just nice for us to do something together, really. But it is quite enjoyable. It's a bit like revisiting my childhood and watching it from a different angle nowadays. So yeah, I appreciate you all being here with me. I appreciate your patience in me being really dinosaur when it comes to the technology. So I'm gonna do my best to learn more, do my best to prepare more, and you're welcome back anytime. As I say, you're welcome to subscribe if you like the channel. Uh, Otherwise, not really looking at it being shared about too much. Bring a friend if you like, but we'll try and keep this to a nice small community so that we're able to share things without our messages just flying off into the distance. I think that would be the best way to go. So, yeah, until next time, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.